everybody. It is my pleasure to invite you. Welcome, everybody. It is my pleasure to invite you to the second game here at the European Ultimate Championships 2023. It's going to be an absolute barn burner and a storm in its own sense on the pitch as they try to deal with the elements that will be afflicting them throughout the match, and it'll really start to tell who's got the mental toughness, who's got the throwing capabilities, who's ready to hustle and follow up every play, every loose disc throughout this matchup. I am Lorcan, I am joined by the one, the only, Christina. Christina, how are you feeling?
I'm great. I'm super excited to get this underway. I've been here for 2 days and can't wait to now finally get some Frisbee action. You can see the wind is here. Weather has been quite up and down. Some rain, some sun, loads of clouds, and the wind that is going to turn this game into, well, we'll see, whatever, into a very, I don't want to use any bad words, so I'm not going to say that.
This is ulti.TV. We are on YouTube. We don't want to get struck, but it promises to be quite an exciting matchup. We saw in the mixed game earlier on today as well that the wind really does become a defining factor. This upwind, downwind can be something of an equalizer. Their breaks will be few and far between potentially, as we have got a GB team that while they come in here with no expectations, I think we've got a couple of them ourselves.
We do. GB won Tom's tourney. This is we have expectations, of course. There are some names that we know on this GB team. Emma Klima, playing in the mixed division. Molly Wedge, of course, someone to really watch out on the field, and of course the Gibson sisters, Heather and Kate, who will mantle this GB offense as they are out for their first point.
So a little bit of a fumble and a stumble as we tumble into the women's division, ready for some action and ready for some experience. Leanne O'Neill picking up the disc. A veteran of Irish Ultimate, a long-time leader, first as a young woman in Cork, and then later on throughout Dublin for Gravity. Playing in the backfield, wasting no time, going for a big shot. She's got a cannon and she is more than willing to fire it. Hunting for it underneath, bopped, bobbled and knocked to the ground. I thought for a second Peria Slavets was going to be able to take that down for an early upwind break for Ireland, but GB get away with one. So now they're going to have to reassess and try and find some space, try and find some time and some patience. So far, still searching for a way into this game. World Games player Rachel Naden with the big scooper over the top. Wonderfully weighted, and that's the kind of throws that really come to the advantage here at these kind of conditions. That is a nice little bit of quick give-go play between Hunter and Yorworth until they're able to knock it in for the score. Fantastic two-person go.
Hyde with the score, just in the right position there, and I loved how they moved from one side to the other, and with that give-go action, just ran away from the Irish defense. Not clean for that starting point, but clean enough for the score.
It will do. Fantastic play from the two of them, and showing exactly how you can play in these conditions. The overheads, the scoopers, sometimes people think of them as risky throws, but in these conditions, exposing it with the right amount of spin, it can be perfect. Naden did it to full effect, and then Hunter and Yorworth were able to just finish it off, going in the opposite, or continuing on down the field. Hannah Yorworth was on the under-24 mixed team back in 2019 and was supposed to represent GB at the World Championships in 2020 in the women's division. But of course, that didn't go ahead. So getting to it here at the European Championships in 2023. So perhaps a little bit of a shaky start there. Ireland got awfully close to getting an upwind break.
Yeah, Rachel Naden got in with that defense, but super close to score a break to start this game.
Boyd picks it up, goes with the quick shot straight into the middle to Chambers. Chambers sends it down, collected by Doyle. Doyle now looks for the move from Chambers. Nice leading pass, just enough spin for it to sit. The wind calming down momentarily. Clean Doyle working very well with Jessica Chambers in the middle of the pitch, so they're able to move the disc around comfortably. Barron sends it back across to Boyd. Boyd going backfield to Doyle. Doyle directing traffic and going with the dump to Boyd. Boyd gets it to Barron, and Barron with the quick pop. That is a nice follow through from Boyd. The throw and the go, the two-part move. Crucial to keeping that disc in rotation as she goes for a flotation device downfield and outside the end zone. The quick pop to Chambers. Chambers is juking, jiving, but going nowhere quickly as Linney looking for options.
Pick called on the field using very small congested space. And, of course, stripping off the defensive player there.
And we are back in. Linney tries to get it back to Boyd, and that is slapped down with authority. And then almost thrown away. Perhaps a little bit of argy-bargy downfield.
Accepted foul as Gibson lands on the ground.
The sun comes out and the smiles across all the players' faces. They're here to have a good time, here to enjoy themselves. Woo! A nice flick break to Dennison. Dennison puts maybe a bit too much float on that one. An ocean of green crashes ahead of the Molly Wedge, but she's able to stay strong, stay proud, and take that down. So GB working upwind right now. Wedge makes another move to get free. Goes to Wu in the middle and the bobble. I think there's going to be more of those than in a hat shop in this game. Boyd, straight to Chambers. Chambers looks, doesn't like the undercut initially. Waits for Boyd to get free again with the offhand backhand, and Boyd tries to set it up for a shot. Looking for the back corner of that end zone. And really great heart and effort from Dziewiątka.
Dziewiątka trying to toe the line and get that disc, which always, you know, is a troubling thing to do. Doing one of the two things, either catching, but looking at the line and catching at the same time with controlling your body. It's a very hard thing to do.
So GB get the disc back. It's Wu, middle of the pitch. Wu's going to be dictating traffic to a certain extent. And tries to get to Cauldron. Cauldron somehow holds on to that one. Gets down to Dennison. Really nice cut coming from all the way to the other side of the pitch. Payne swept across. Now gets the inside break, looking for Wedge, but will take it when it arrives at Dennison. And they're moving quickly down the pitch. Dennison tries to float it all the way down. This could be critical. Really well read and caught by Oldfield for the score.
Again, nice flow from that GB side. And I love the heads up play there out of Dennison. They wanted to move on, but saw the disc was overshot for Wedge and just caught it and put it right up into space and keep it moving.
And that's the hustle that we were talking about before the game. There's going to be a lot of second chance opportunities, third chance opportunities, and you have to stay with the disc. You have to keep your head a bit on a swivel so that you can notice when it's gone past its intended receiver, and if it's in your area, can you make a play on it?
Ireland had one or the other impressive play in that point as well, just not quite there to finish it off, and they'll get there though.
So what did you see that you liked about the Irish offense on that play?
Well, I do think they have amazing throws, and seeing Jess Chambers with that offhand backhand in these conditions, and I know it's not that windy yet, but being able to put that up into space is always going to be a better option, in my opinion, than putting up a flick, because it's just harder to execute well. And if you have that in your arsenal, that the offhand backhand can work wonders for you. Definitely one to watch, Jess Chambers.
That was a fantastic pull, knifing into the ground and then rolling out the back. So Boyd will get to walk it to the front of the end zone. That doesn't make that position all that more comfortable, not giving up the brick. So can Boyd get out of here? The calls for pressure. Flick to Chambers, and Boyd and Chambers are going to be so critical to this Irish women's team. Tries to get the offhand again, but that time the other edge of that sword. It can be dangerous. Wedge quick to pick it up, as they're going to look to drive a wedge themselves in between Ireland with some good play together. And a chance for a 3-point lead. So Maddie Leung. A little bit of discussion, perhaps. Too much contact?
I think maybe a pick, because they are working in very tight space. Saying that up the line shot was... Well, maybe it was a foul. Because I don't think you can contest a pick. So it will be resolved as contested.
So Wedge can't get it to Leong that time. And I thought that was for a second a drop, but no, Gibson's able to hold on. They are really attacking that front corner. Ireland collapse in on it to stop it. Great awareness by Gibson to get it back into the middle of the pitch. And there's the pass through. Fantastic stuff. Kate Gibson finishing it off with a nice shot into the middle.
Emma Klima with the score herself on the on a mixed team, Reading, I believe. The one elite invert. And doing her work in the handler set there, and of course also GB under 20, GB under 23s, under 24s. She's done it all.
Kate Gibson was the one who received the disc in the middle of the pitch, got the assist. Just to clarify for everybody else, because in the front corner making those great decisions was Heather Gibson. Looked off the initial shot, or the availability of Wedge, the defense collapse, able to turn back around. So just a little bit of a clarification.
15 seconds.
So 3-0 straight away to GB. Would you panic if you were Ireland?
Nah, never.
I like that attitude, Christina.
So I don't think Ireland necessarily expect to win that. So panicking now, not a good idea. I'd rather just, you know, do the things you do well and expect other teammates to do the same thing.
Measured as always from the Austrian. It makes sense. Boyd picks it up. Personally, I'm a fan of panicking, but that's why I don't play at the highest level. Doyle, in acres of space, she could have opened a farm. Gets the quick pop just about down the line. Barron, Ireland looking for their first score. There's the shot. It's around and collected for the goal.
Javiantuk with the score there, and Ireland move it at 10 meters width of the pitch, just going up the line, and up the line again into the end zone. But why use more of that when you don't need it? It works.
And a fantastic throw in the end. Caudron was in the area and had that extended hand, hoping to stop the block, or get the block even. So Ireland get on the board, like you say, no need to panic early on.
No, they listen to me. It's a good idea.
So now Ireland get to send that D-line out. That D-line that was, it did come a couple of inches away from getting a pretty big gainer downfield, so plenty to take heart in for this Irish side.
They definitely did get their opportunities, and they will continue to get them.
That is the nature of these conditions.
Exactly. You can see the flags blowing in the back there. If you don't believe us, it's crazy out here.
Why wouldn't you believe us?
Well,
when have we ever led you astray?
Well, time and time again. But I do believe, like, watching it myself, sometimes it doesn't seem like bad conditions. It's sunny. What are you talking about? And then you see the flags and their jerseys blowing around, and gets a completely different story.
Yorworth tries to get back into the middle. It pops, goes over, and that is a really great take. Thompson was wise to it. There's the throw down the line, and that one was always going a little bit too low for Karen Kwok, the World Games player.
Ireland with another break opportunity.
Let's see how their D-line can go. The first throw bobbles, it comes out, but O'Brien's able to collect. O'Brien now, oh, the throw looked good coming out, but couldn't find a receiver. So GB get it back pretty quickly. Whitehead throws a low one herself, but that is scooped up off the ground somehow by Naden. It's
called down, maybe.
I think that is the call right now. Naden and O'Brien just having a little bit of a discussion.
It did look very close, but I couldn't, you know, get a good perspective on that.
I think a couple of people calling it up. Swing around and caught Kwok, another veteran, real high quality, and that was a very impressive grab just to secure it. Naden putting in the hard work to collect the easy score on the other side by throwing it to Hayley Dalman.
That wasn't, it was easy at the end, wasn't easy coming there. So many intense layouts and low grabs, and if Ireland can put GB towards it, push them to getting those shots in, I think they're doing a really good job. Like, that is well done.
And would you like to see Ireland change up their offense right now, or do you think it's early days, just keep working?
I think it was one or two miscommunications that we saw, and of course, think a second before you put up any throws, always.
Wait,
and
what? Hold on.
Yeah, I know high level.
Hold it, what?
This is what you do.
I'm sorry.
Don't panic.
That is a fundamental misrepresentation of the best approach to our sport. Thinking.
Yeah.
Thinking. That's for nerds. These are athletes, jocks out here.
Are you saying an athlete can't be intelligent?
I'm saying they shouldn't be, because they don't need to be. Leave that for the people who are inside. This is about physicality.
I hope it's not.
Physical prowess and heart as well. We know the mental battle is going to be significant. As that pull rolls past halfway, that is considered a very good pull in these conditions.
Oh yeah, it is.
So Boyd wants a deep shot straight away. Denniston is about as imposing a defensive presence as exists in this division. Alongside Wedge, somehow Chambers gets it on the second guess. Wedge peeled all the way off to try and get a block. There's Boyd, and again that offhand lefty, and Denniston careens into the ground behind her. Boyd wastes no time shooting it all the way down, but can't find Doyle in the back corner.
Just millimeters away.
Smidge.
A little bit, maybe the tiniest gust of wind pushing that disc out the back.
Well, in Ireland, an inch is a mile, and it can be a tough thing to be ready for in these situations. As here come GB, looking for another upwind. And Boyd has other ideas. Really great recognition. And Boyd just taking her time. Just going to get low, pick that up. Quick break across the Chambers. The layout score!
Yeah, Boyd taking that extra second, looking at the field and putting it into space. She actually plays in GB in Great Britain for Scram. Lulu Boyd captained both of these teams at Worlds in 2018-2022, Black Eagles and Scram. So not Irish, but not loyal to Ireland 100%.
There's a Hibernian league, shall we say. Black Eagles and Scram, of course, Scottish teams. Black Eagles, a very imposing mixed team. Scram, a women's team. So I think now Scram and Alba would be the primary teams, and there's not so much as a force. Glasgow and Black Eagles used to be very impressive mixed teams based out of Scotland. Both of them went to Worlds in 2018 and did okay-ish for themselves. Certainly were able to play with pride and represent themselves well. Focus in Scotland seems to have switched a little bit more to the open and women's divisions in more recent years. But let's talk a little bit about that catch by Chambers.
Ooh, crazy good.
So again, you can see how hard it is to get those pulls any significant distance down the pitch. Hannah Brew, one of the best throwers in the division, sends that straight down the line to Kwok. Kwok with the quick ball across to Naden. And GB moving down the pitch rather quickly, but there's the turnover, perhaps too quickly.
Yeah, that player looked a little too speedy for that disc, and maybe the disc was behind.
So those are the kind of shots we can expect Leanne O'Neill to put up. Her and Looney learned how to play this game together, and now they're out here to show Europe a thing or two. O'Neill grinding, stepping. Eventually able to get free. There is going to be a stall out called by Karen Kwok. I'm not going to comment on it because, you know, obvious reasons. But what did you think about that?
Well, it did seem a little speedy.
It just seemed a little, just a smidge.
The tiniest bit speedy, but players on the field are going to resolve it. It's contested. Maybe the Irish side does agree with our perspective here, although ours is, you know, just a paid for and
so here we go again. Looney's forced
one.
to just launch it high into the sky and couldn't be collected on the other end. And wasting absolutely no time. There's the shot downfield. Really nicely read and collected by Laura Van Krieken.
Irish defender was there and tried to read it, but never any doubt Laura Van Krieken wasn't going to be there. In position and ready to go. The GB score.
And you see why Brew is such a threat with the disc in hand. No hesitation whatsoever. Just picked it up and launched it. Known for hucks all across Europe already, well established. I think a lot of these players have met each other before on the club scene, playing against each other. A lot of tournaments in the UK as well as at the EUCF level. So Brew / Whitehead is a name that really rings out.
Yeah, definitely one of the most important pieces of that British squad. Although I could highlight maybe at least 7 of those British players that I have watched before, played against, that I'd be like, oh, yeah, I gotta watch her. You can't watch everyone. Someone will be open at some point, and I think this is why I have my hopes set for the GB women's side to do well, but Ireland is holding on very well so far.
The Boyd centers it there, or thereabouts to Barron. Barron goes back to Boyd. Boyd opens one up, looking to arc it all the way into the end zone, but it trails off at the last second, looking for Linney.
I wasn't sure of the intended receiver, really, because that shot was put to the break side, but the cutter was always moving towards the open side, leaving, you know, going in the wrong direction. So, yeah, I see what she saw there. I don't think the cutter knew what the intention of the thrower was in that situation.
That was an incredible break into the middle of the pitch, and then overthrown ever so slightly. Looking for Wu. So Boyd's going to get another chance to pick this up. Flanked by Barron. Chambers obviously making that first cut. Wedge is starting to come off and try to help with the poach. Chambers is still that first look the whole time, just waiting and then resetting to Boyd. So now Boyd outside the end zone. And again, they're like so much on Chambers. Absolutely putting in work at the front of stack. Able to collect it just in front of the end zone. Searching, Barron couldn't get free. Boyd comes back and frees it up and then looks for Barron, and the weave works.
I love that setup. The 3-person weave and giving Chambers so much space to work with actually just made that happen. Yes, Molly Wedge was poaching, but she kept herself in the end zone to be able to catch up back to her intended matchup on defense, which gave Chambers a lot of space to work with before the end zone line. And a 3-person weave, in my opinion, is a very good thing to work with in the red zone if you have a stack that is structured and waiting to get a continuation, but nothing more. Not like jump in, but let someone else do the heavy lifting.
I think Chambers did an awful lot of heavy lifting, and we're sending our well wishes out to Natalie Oldfield, who had to try and mark her. That was so much running around, and Chambers is able to just step and go. A little Wu-Tang, taste the pain. 27 Chambers. So O'Neill with the disc. And we know O'Neill, one of the strongest throwers on this Irish side. It'll be a big threat if they can get that disc. But first of all, they've got to get that disc, and that is no easy task. Fantastic grab. I thought that was destined to hit the dirt. Avril Hunter had other ideas, and now looking to finish it off. Brilliant play by GB. Lightning quick.
That looked like there was no defense nowhere. A perfect first cut and then continuation worked like clockwork.
How are you supposed to shut that down? I mean, Brew picking up the disc is always going to be a terrifying prospect, and with hands like clamps, Hunter just snatched that one out the sky.
Yeah, I think that was the only maybe a little risky thing. That initiation towards the break side, caught it, as you already pointed out, and then everything else was just running off to the races for the score.
So we have a timeout called, understandably so, 6-3 right now to GB, very much in the driver's seat. I really like that play, the way it was an initiation from Brew, going for the break across and then the continuations down the line. So nicely finished. So 6-3, the current score, GB in control.
We are Hive Ultimate, a group of players and coaches from all over the world working together to progress the next generation of Ultimate strategy. We've helped top teams win world championships and new teams introduce the sport in a fun and inclusive way. Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn more about our cutting edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
Welcome back to this high-octane action in the opening game of the women's division. We have got Great Britain really earning that moniker right now, taking on the Irish Kalini as they are looking to get a bit of pride and defend their home turf. It's 6-3 right now, the sole upwind break currently belonging to the Brits. I am Lork and I am joined by Christina. Christina, how did you like to see the Irish come down and fight their way back into this game?
I want to see them clean up the defense a little bit, like really clamp down and put pressure on that GB side, but clean hold now.
Huge shot from Barron, and looking for Nimunichan in the other end zone, but that one very difficult to measure going downwind.
Yeah, I might have just jinxed that a little bit. Taking a clean hold and one pass. Would have loved to see that. Imagine me calling it and it actually working out.
Well, now they've got a chance to play that defense and try and clamp down. We've seen them go all the way down the pitch already, but that break from Wedge just a bit too far ahead of Denniston. So Ireland get another chance. And Lulu Boyd, who has been fantastic so far in this match, will be picking it up. Who do you think she's going to look for first? You can see the isolation.
Would always say Chambers.
I'd say you're probably right.
Ooh.
And instead goes to Doyle in the middle of the pitch, showing what we know. And then Chambers loses the headband, but not the head, staying comfortable, staying collected. And there's the quick break across. Nimun Khan trying to find Barron. Nice fake up the line, a step back from Barron just to get enough space to collect that disc. Dangerous with it and throws it through two bidding defenders to Chambers for the score, 6-4.
That was a daring shot. That worked out well, but two GB defender jumping left and right to get it. But Chambers not stifled at all by those jumping Brits.
Well acquainted to being under an intense amount of pressure. Plenty of experience playing with Jabba, playing with Dublin Gravity and Disky, as well as having a lot of experience at the international level.
Yeah, she played Ireland mixed in 2016, Ireland women's team in 2019, and she therefore is a champion, European champion. And then was on the Irish women's team in 2020, but of course we know that didn't happen. And now she's back on the Irish women's team as well, where other players from that team winning in 2019 moved to the mixed division. She stayed true to her female single gender nature.
And just trying to lead this Irish team back into this game. You can see she's that first option so frequently. Even with the centering to Doyle, a lot of that was just about getting it off the sideline. Then they're still looking for Chambers. There's another pull from O'Neill. This one falls just shy of halfway. Brew. Let's see what she's mixing up. Another great cut coming across from the pitch. Kwok, but a drop, unexpected.
Yeah, it's very hard to put these throws into the wind at enough time and zippy enough as well. So I think this is something players will have to get used to.
And that one, again, one good turn deserving another.
Yeah, basically just the same thing.
So Brew again walking over to pick it up and ready to fire it downfield. You can see the fans gathering to cheer on the hometown team. A couple of GB fans there as well. This is fantastic pressure, but eventually able to get it to Hunter. I mean, a safety release valve, if ever there was one. Get it somewhere near for Cindy. She will catch it, and there, looking for the end zone, but tough to grab.
Yeah, working very congested space.
And that's floating awfully high. It might be very inventive and cleaning it up on the other end. Collier gets it to Looney. Looney centers it back into the middle. They can't get the continuation off quite in time, but Ireland, a nice little break. And O'Brien has an option in the middle, overthrows it, second chance, third chance, somehow coming down with it, Farnan. And that's what you have to do. You've just got to keep hustling. We know O'Neill thinking about the deep shot. Instead goes to the break all the way across, bouncing off the hands of Looney, and the second chance not able to collect.
Third time's a charm usually, but this time around the third bubbled disc hits the ground.
So that Irish charm not particularly working. Brew. Beautiful break all the way over the top. That was very impressive. Kwok now with the disc. Looking at the end zone, but nothing immediately available. And O'Neill jumping into action on the force. Hunter. Near sideline as GB looking to just be patient, take their time, not force anything. Kwok, beautiful backhand break. Those high release backhands being used to great effect. A righty, then a lefty. The second one and the assist going to Hannah Yorworth.
Yeah, those, as you already mentioned, those high release backhands working really well because you can just pop them onto the wind, release it a little bit high. You don't need that much spin as their release point is a bit different. And those are just sitting up there for you receivers to catch them high. And if you trust them and you trust your matchup, this is a very good option for GB.
And understandably trusting their matchups. This team really built on trust and playing together. We might have expectations coming into this tournament, but they don't really have them for themselves.
Yeah, that's always the thing you say, isn't it? I get that they are not setting themselves up to be a semis team or a quarters team because this could switch something with team morale, but I'm pretty sure that the coaches or the players, some of them have their own expectations or their team's expectations, and I do get that they don't want to share them. Like, I absolutely get them. I also get that, and I do expect a lot of them, but we have to watch whether it will be a London Invite GB team or a Thomas Turney GB team.
Really great play by Leong, able to step through and dissuade that throw across. So now GB with a chance to go an upwind break for half. Wedge sees Denniston, floats one. The elements come up to left their own defense on it. Somehow that's taken down for the grab. Was that a score? I believe it was.
Van Gil with the score for GB, and it's 8-4, and I've seen that before this tournament.
So it is far from insurmountable. 8-4, and what a way to get it, though. The upwind break striking so quickly. You understand Wedge collects that in a power position, sees Denniston. Literally the second Wedge released it, the wind kicked up, the rain was brought in. GB celebrate. Again, it just speaks to the hustle.
Definitely does. GB huddle, and well, you weren't gonna put on some raincoats now.
So 8-4, GB to the good. And you've got to think that they are pretty happy with themselves after that performance in the first half, Christina.
Definitely, they were firing from out of all horns. Is that what you said? Whatever, you know what I mean. They were coming out firing. There you go. The Irish side pushed them, but you could always see GB were a bit quicker and a bit more dialed in for this starting game.
And you can see those 209 accumulative years of ultimate experience coming to the fore as GB are currently 8-4 up in the opening game of the women's division. Welcome back to the opening game in the women's division here at the European Ultimate Championships 2023. So far, Great Britain were able to get 2 breaks, as well as starting the game on offense on the high side. By the high side, I mean the left side of your screen where the wind is coming from, and that really dictates the upwind, downwind dynamic. That 3-0 lead that they struck off to open the match with has turned out to be very determinative, Christina.
Yeah, Ireland came back and worked their way into this game, but they missed the beginning of it a little bit and are now running behind, looking for their first break, but they had their opportunities. It's not an easy game in the favor of Britain. They are, they're really grinding, both teams, and they will have to, because this is, this is it. This is the week everyone has been working on for the last year.
Do you think GB were able to just squash some of that rising confidence that Ireland had by getting a break to end the first half with? So is there something you think Ireland should be changing up in their approach to this game to help them fight their way back in?
I think their defense has gotten better during this first half by quite a bit, so they have intensified that for sure, and just keep on pushing, and those mistakes will come as games are rather long. They're 100 minutes long, and players are going to be tired at some point. The wind and weather conditions in general are tough to play with, and mistakes will happen. And Ireland will have to use every single one of those. Try and take advantage of those mistakes.
Well, there will be plenty of mistakes to come from both sides. It's only natural in these conditions. I hope that doesn't come across as overly disparaging. It's more an acknowledgement of the inevitable.
It's just what it is. It's Frisbee, man.
It's Frisbee. It's Frisbee in Limerick.
So, as we are in Limerick, at EUC, of course, we are playing in a certain format. And our format in this women's division is 4 pools of either 3 or 4 teams. And there's actually just one pool, Pool A, that has 4 teams, and these teams are playing now, playing today. And that is Ireland, GB, Belgium, and Austria. So these teams get an extra game, which is really great, unless you want to, play a whole
warm on your Saturday,
or play a whole tournament, a whole week of games. But no, I think everyone really enjoys playing out here in whatever conditions, because they're representing their country and playing at the highest level we have in Europe, which is just exciting. And then after this initial pool phase, the other pools, all of 3 teams, will step into pool phase round 2, mixing and matching a little bit with teams from the other sides, and then we'll go into power pools, with having 2 power pools, 1 lower pool, and then play out the bracket from there.
And you touch on something with a needle, that this first pool games, largely just a reseeding exercise before heading into the second batch, so a great chance for teams to test themselves out, especially for Ireland. And Boyd hitting Doyle in the middle. Seems to be a sideline play that they like to run to get themselves out of that tough situation. Hart, another very accomplished player, spent a lot of time playing in Limerick, gets it to Chambers, sending it down the line and back into the middle now to Doyle. So Ireland showing a bit of width at this point, which is very encouraging if you're one of the many Irish fans. And if you are an Irish fan, you should come join us in Limerick all week long. There'll be great games in all 3 divisions for you to cheer on. Doyle. Boyd makes a move behind. Goes to Barron. And then Barron pops it right back in for the score into the waiting hands of Cliona Doyle.
That was beautiful flow. I love that initial setup of it. Even seems a bit like a hexagon setup, having 1 behind and then the other players spread around the pitch, and 1 person will be open to pass it to, because you can't always defend every single angle. It makes making it easy to spread out space and move it from one side to the other, and then they use that space on the far side of the pitch to get a goal here.
Great quick fire action. Helen Barron, so far in this game, has 3 assists and a goal, so showing how crucial she is. Only 25 years old, but proving to be an essential part of this Irish offense.
You're actually tapping on one of the points I was going to make on the second pool action. So having 2 pools, 2 pool play stages for this women's side could be really good. On the other hand, if your talent isn't as widespread as some of the teams, but you're really depending on single players, it would be better for them probably to have lesser games to mean more, rather than having to grind more and more during the week and play quote-unquote useless games.
Well, no game is useless, as we have seen time and time again. Just a little bit of contact downfield. I think that was Yorworth and Lorena.
Getting a little too close.
You see Baru collecting it. And there's the accidental trip, shall we say. I don't think there was any malice in that at all. Ireland switching it up a little bit. Boyd coming over onto the D line. Baru, I thought she was going to send that, but another backhand break. High release, fantastic stuff. Kwok gets it to Naden. Naden searches for options. Another backhand high release, pops it over the top, and Baru collects for the score, getting it done on both sides of the disc.
There was 2 or maybe even 3 people underneath that could have been the intended target, but
Kwok, Naden, and Baru, that is a deadly trifecta. Brilliant play, and the smoothness of those throws. So often when you do put them up, you're hoping the wind will push them down, but you've got to get the speed on it, you've got to get that snap. And I personally find it very difficult to get that kind of snap on a release when you're releasing it above your head.
Yeah, I actually love that throw, so I can teach you a thing about that. You get more motion. Oh, we can see that again. Here you get the motion from turning your body and pushing your hand up. Ooh. Nice celebration there for Brew. So instead of just using your wrist, you actually move your forearm upwards with it. It's just a bit of a different movement than a normal flick, as Brew is followed by our mobile cameraman, Milan. Shout out to him, withstanding the weather.
Shout out to everybody who is joining us on these sidelines and helping us enjoy and celebrate some Ultimate, regardless of the conditions, which do seem to have eased off ever so slightly. I shouldn't have said that out loud, as here come Ireland, hoping to ramp up the pressure and intensity. 9-5 down right now. The half started pretty well with that hold. Boyd pulling double duty right now. Barron, who's been lethal for Ireland so far, gets it back to Boyd. You can see GB coming out with a bit of a zone look. So Hart, Boyd and Barron in the backfield. Looking for cutters down there. And they're forced to go over the top. Doyle, it's overshooting, and great defensive pressure and presence from GB in the form of Natalie Oldfield.
Yeah, that was Oldfield's disc all the way. Perfect positioning. And just, you know, you saw her watching that disc with her eyes, just following that path and getting into the perfect position to get a D.
Natalie Oldfield got one significant grab going upwind already to take them to half. Wasn't intended for it, but that doesn't really matter so much as now we see Wedge. We've seen her uncork a few so far. Wedge looks for Denniston in the middle of the pitch. Fantastic grab. It was always a threat of creeping further high, and Oldfield somehow holds on to that one, reaching back behind her to collect it. Recycling it into the middle to Jeffrey. Jeffrey with the inside break across Leong. Barron stepping pretty far off initially at least. Leong gets it to Caudron. Caudron down the line. I thought Wedge was sending that one too. I think I'm going to think that every time she gets the disc, in fairness. And Wedge looking to find a little bit of space. Gets it to Oldfield. They're on the far sideline. The wind died down ever so slightly right now as GB looking to push it all the way back and get another upwind. They found it across. Crawford centers it into the middle where it is collected. That's Funsale. Funsale tries to get it back, looking for Wedge. Great pressure from the Irish defense.
Yeah, that was intense. That throw had to be put into so much space and out too far for someone like Molly Wedge. That is an accomplishment, really.
As you saw right there, Wedge more than willing to put it all on the line to try and secure possession for her team. Boyd taking her time, walking to the disc. GB resume this zone, and Ireland resume following Route 1 offense, launching it all the way down the field. I can understand that. Oldfield was in position to block it. Again, like you're saying, the way she follows it. When they get that down to Leong. Leong winds up. Be a little surprised to see her uncork it. And again, that one, a bit too much zip for Wedge to bring it in. So Barron. It's another bite at the cherry. Big floaty looking for Chambers. Chambers gets high and tears it down under pressure.
Great positioning from Chambers there.
So Barron again, just dishing it out as the fulcrum against that zone. And again, they're going to float one to Chambers. And again, Chambers muscles her way into the best position. Really nicely done. Ireland starting to play a little bit more confidently against this zone. Linney to Barron. Barron turns down Doyle. Floats it over. Chambers attracted the defense and trying to shoot to the back of the end zone where Hannah Linney collects.
Impressive stuff working through that zone by the Irish. For my taste, there wasn't enough hammers and scoobers in there, personally, but that's, you know, that's just me. Chambers, just amazing, like such great positioning, moving into the space, making sure no one else is there. So she's not taking away space from anybody or initiating contact, but just using her frame to the best of her ability.
And that is quite a prodigious ability.
Yeah.
As well as that, the way that she started to just attract attention from GB, you could see she made that cut to the front of the end zone, sucked in 2 GB defenders, which opened up the shot for Barron over the top to Linney. So very nicely done. So Ireland showing that they are able to adapt. The zone there initially looked to give them a little bit of trouble, but they found that space through those significant swings across the pitch and some fantastic grabs by Chambers.
Yeah, with that win condition, you have to throw a zone. And regardless of the wind, I do believe that in every game you should play zone at least 1 point, but that is just me personally. Again, throwing a lot of my opinions on you there, but
how dare you, Christina?
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, actually, but
it's something that is shared as an opinion by, I think, a lot of people playing at the most elite level. Not just the idea that you should throw a zone out there once, but you should always have something in your back pocket that you haven't uncorked before. US Nationals last year, Mixtape, who went on to win it with a double peak, so Worlds and Nationals, had a zone they didn't pull out until they were in trouble in the semi-final. As we see a huge shot from Brew all the way down to the end zone, but nicely recognized and snuffed out by Emily O'Brien.
Yeah, I remember playing against O'Brien actually in the juniors level and already being a speedster and on the D-line. She kept that for herself.
So now Ireland are going to have to try and get a break back of their own. And they're not going to be able to do it with plays like that. Really quickly picked up. GB looked to strike back as quick as possible. Van Krieken gets it to Brew. Brew taking her time. Fantastic faking, throws Nivunicon to the ground, and then Brew throws an assist into the waiting hands of Lucy Hyde.
Yeah, another high release backhand throw. Brew faking the low and taking it high. Nice stuff. And just, yeah, what can you do against it? Not really anything.
I was about to start praising. Nivunicon is picked the shortest straw possible, having to try and deal with Brew, but has actually done a really impressive job at times, trying to shut down some of those options, being as active as possible, which is really all you can be when you're trying to limit someone with the kind of breadth of talent and throwing options that Brew has. As we will see, GB going up 10-6 right now. As courtesy of that great offensive ability that they have in the driver's seat and looking to carry it forward to an early win, 10-6 to GB.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ulti.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Ireland's call, raising their voices, raising their spirits, and hoping to raise the temperature on the British right now, Christina.
Yeah, they should. This is a make it work moment for the Irish. 10-6. It's funny because it seems worse, although it's not really, because it was 8-4 at half and 10-6 is the same as 8-4, and which means Ireland have found their space in this game. They've taken the shots they needed and scored the points. It was clean holds all the way in the second half, but we approach the business end of this game, it just seems more and more important for them to take it up a notch.
To start really exploring those higher gears that they can bring. Like you said, in this pool, it's a chance for you to get your whole range of your players to lift them to the higher level. We've seen a couple of stars stand out, obviously, for Ireland already. So if they can start to involve a few more players, that will really stand to them as the tournament goes on. Perhaps this extra game that the teams in this pool get can be an advantage.
Absolutely.
As we see GB go back into the zone. Doyle. Barron. Barron almost goes for the break all the way across the heart. Instead, going all the way over the top. Really nice shot, and not an easy one to handle. Dziewiątka. Chambers overthrows Hart, unfortunately. Maybe trying to rush that a bit too much.
Yeah, these types of zones sometimes give you the impression that people are so free, but then defenders are just lurking in the back, being ready to jump in when the time is right.
Laying some traps. And that was really great dump cutting by Kate Gibson. As here come GB, they want another break. And they don't want to give Ireland one. So they keep ratcheting up the pressure. There's the cut by Wedge, but bouncing out of her hands. Boyd walking to pick it up. And immediately shooting it all the way down there for Doyle. Favored target, and that's why! Doyle giving just about everything she has to bring that in, but couldn't quite corral it.
Not quite there. Fingertips away. Maybe, again, that tiniest breeze of wind pushing the disc out of her hands and the back of the end zone. That seems like a 1-6 setup on GB there. Stack really, you know, static. And setting up that sideline early, like that grab on the sideline.
So GB coming out with a different offensive look, and one that trying to expand their own retinue of options. As now we're going to see Ireland possibly going for that wave. They are just straight up clamping Chambers immediately now. You see Wedge is just coming off unabashedly to help out. Oldfield as well, as Ireland look to find the poach, but that one's just a bit too far ahead of Boyle.
And everyone can see that two defensive players are...
GB going right to it very quickly. Wasting no time. They want another shot at this break. Brilliant break throw, and that's how you get there. Wedge has options. Chambers does a great job of stepping off on the force and making herself sizable to dissuade the deep shot. And that one, the wind bops it up. So Sarah Jeffrey gets low to collect. Completes the pass to Gibson. Gibson gets the quick pop off just about to Kate Gibson. And back in, playing back and forth, and there's the floaty pass. Lots of bodies underneath it. And Chambers, you want a roof like that in this kind of weather. Floats it down the line to Boyd, who holsters the deep shot. Maybe not so much a holster as it was forced away with some fantastic work on the defensive end, and then miscommunication by Ireland going downfield. And that allows Kate Gibson to get in there and get the block.
Slashing through and getting it on the offensive side of things.
Picked up immediately by Heather Gibson. Kate Gibson working well together. Jeffrey thinks about the break, goes to the backhand instead. It was always going to be low, but still somehow collected. And Klima, unfortunately, it's a turnover, so here come Ireland again. Doyle launching it deep, but really nicely defended by Sarah Jeffrey.
Somehow, at this point, the game just switched from being one side doing this, waiting, and then starting an attack towards the other side to quick pace and haste from both sides, really.
Well, you've got to make haste while the sun shines in this sporadic weather that just seems to be changing opinions and influences like a schizophrenic. Jeffrey just about able to get it down the line to Klima. Klima back into Gibson. Gibson across to Jeffrey again. So nice short field play by GB initially. Doyle sneaks off into the open lane to stop the pass, but GB respond by swinging it all the way across. And there's the shot looking downfield. Really nice throw, but tough one to grab. There's going to be a foul called. I think that was uncontested. Yes, that is uncontested by Hannah Linney. So Emma Klima picks it up immediately, gets it to Molly Wedge. Thought the shot to Oldfield was coming, but Wedge holsters. Instead, Gibson. Kate. Now Heather Gibson. Working very well together. Looking for Jeffrey. Big flick break all the way across, but too far ahead of her intended receiver, Molly Wedge.
Ireland poaching on that in that end zone as well as GB on the other side. This means the break set is very open, and I like the idea to hit that shot, but that one was out way too far towards that sideline, and Molly Wedge.
It's going to be a tough shot to hit. So Boyd. Well shut down. GB are doing a great job of clamping in on those unders, but they go for the big one over the top, trying to find Chambers as they so frequently do. But Gibson has gotten wise to it. Like you say, laying traps all the time, Christina. And now on the far sideline, they're going to get another look and asking a lot of Heather Gibson, who responds as best she can.
That looked hurtful, like bumping on her knee, sliding off of it.
It's always an uncomfortable thing to see. The wind raises its voice as the Irish fans do the same. Chambers gets free in the middle of the pitch. Just about able to get that one down to Linney. Linney reloads to Barron, and Barron uncorks one to Doyle. And it bounces out of her hands.
We've seen that time and time again from both sides, that the disc doesn't want to be caught in those big shots.
Does the disc think it's better than us?
I think so, yeah.
And that lonely walk to the end zone. Pick up the disc. Being made by Gibson. Kate Gibson tries to thread it through and does so to just about in the end. And then Wedge somehow collected that one. It came at her at pace out of the hands of Sarah Hills. So now Wedge goes for a very brave break to Klima. It's going to be a pick called. Wedge on Chambers is a matchup to keep your eye on. Kleemer looking. Jeffrey's trying to get free. There's the break around and collected by Hills. Hills wanted Gibson, couldn't get there on the break side. He's forced to wait until Gibson circles all the way back around. Gibson directing traffic. Oldfield. And Jeffrey makes the break side cut again. They go wedge open. Chambers tries to get in the way and quickly recovers. Wedge to Oldfield. And Wedge has again gone down the line. That one, Chambers again almost sneaks in, but not quite in time. Wedge driving GB forward and up the pitch, looking for another break. That was a dainty, well-weighted break throw across to Hills in the middle. Plenty of spin, lots of sit. And then maybe Hills started, her thoughts got ahead of her body.
Yeah, those give and goes get you exciting at times.
Sometimes it's a give and gone. So that opportunity goes begging. Boyd. This has been something of a mammoth point. Boyd looks to bring it to a close. The arcing pass is always inching ever too far away from Dziewiątka.
Yeah, that disc moved outside and break side a little bit. No, what am I saying? Break side, breaking down towards your our near side of the pitch, and
it's difficult to get the right angle on the throw, and sometimes that edge just starts to trail away from you, and you have to wave it goodbye.
And then in these conditions, you can never tell running after the disc what way it will really turn. This makes it very difficult.
Sarah Jeffrey picks it up. Front of the end zone, looks for Wedge, but too far ahead. And there goes the call from Boyd for the ISO. This time they're switching to Doyle. Not going with Chambers, and there's no poach coming out to help. So a great call from Boyd and the Irish team to switch up the focus of that ISO. Barron gets low and collects it. Under intense pressure, working well with Doyle. It's going to be a foul called on, I think there's a foul called on Jeffrey. Uncontested.
Got some rain back with that wind.
So Cleona Doyle right in front of the end zone, looking to bring this extensive point to a concise finish. Bobbled, Barron collects. Can she add to her tally? She does so with the assist to Boyd.
And that was a monster of a point. I don't even know how many turnovers. 8, 9, and 9 again. Wait, what? No. 8 turns each, and that was a pass I was reading. Oopsie. 8 turns each and a hold for Ireland. That is crazy.
So it took an awful lot of work, but the Irish women were equal to it.
And this could really change momentum now, in my opinion. Like, Ireland must be fired up to have gotten this point. Then GB have grinded and given it their all, but they couldn't punch it in. They had so many opportunities, but that disc saw the ground more often than it saw the hands of GB receivers, or Ireland receivers for that matter.
You can see the whole Irish squad rushing on to support their team, so they might be agreeing with you, and this is their chance to get back into this matchup. We will see 16 turnovers on that point, so it was a long time out there for the Irish O-line and the GB D-line, and I am sure the GB will be looking for a quick response so that they can keep that pressure piling on. So the wind really howling now. The disc just in front of halfway. Brew with a scooper immediately over the top to Naden. Naden gets the quick pop, and that was a drop by Hunter. I thought that was going to be a strip. Looney to O'Neill. O'Neill thinks about the deep shot, decides against it initially. Waiting for somebody to get free under. Nemunicon makes herself available. And the quick pop back to O'Neill. And now O'Neill uncorks one. Throwing it all the way down there, looking for O'Brien. Brew's in the area. Looney sneaks in and steals it away. Ireland are making good distance in harsh conditions. Back to O'Neill. O'Neill, maybe she's going to uncork another one. You can see her calling for it. And it has to be respected. Turns Kwok around. Looney with the extended grab. And shoots for the end zone herself, trying to find O'Brien!
There you go. That's what I said. The momentum changed in favor of Ireland. Your face is as red as a tomato, but deservedly so. Irish have broken late in this game.
And at the focal points, shall we say, plural, of that possession, the two Cork women, Looney and O'Neill, coming together in ferocious form. It was a fantastic throw, finding Emily O'Brien in the end zone, and they were rushed by the entire sideline. Great turnaround. After 8 turnovers apiece on the previous point, an Irish hold in the end, they get a clean defensive possession there to get a break. I believe their first break of the game, and what a time to get it. 8-10 in some of the harshest conditions, and understandably, GB go for the timeout as we have the score. GB 10, Ireland 8.
Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn about our cutting-edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
And we are back to the action. Ireland got their first break just before that timeout, Christina.
Yeah, they did. And you know what my favorite moment of that point was? O'Neill with that big fake and hiding the disc behind her back a little bit. So sneaky that Kwok thought she had already released it and looked for the disc. But I don't know how this should have happened because it was a backhand fake and that disc would have gotten out from the wrong side of Kwok, so she would have probably noticed it. But that was my favorite moment, my star of the game, O'Neill.
And that is a phenomenal pull by Ireland. They're going to look to put pressure on immediately. Arrives in the form of O'Brien on Wu. Wedge through the middle to Jeffrey, and Wedge and Jeffrey operating inside a phone booth right now as Ireland come out in the zone. Jeffrey gets that through to Wu, and Wu uncorks one of her own. There's going to be a battle downfield. It's a lot of float. There's a lot of green, a lot of white underneath it. And coming up with the disc somehow is Kleemer. That was incredible. That's just all about reading it. You know she spent time in the library. Watch. Wedge. Too excited. Jeffrey looks for Wedge again. Trying to find a way past O'Brien. Does so somehow. Short spaces, but they are no dissuasion. Cowdron gets it back from Denniston. Denniston again collects in the middle of the pitch. And GB looking to get an offensive hold into the wind immediately. It would be quite the response. Jeffrey straight through. Wedge looks for Woo. Overshoots.
Ireland with that 4-person cup. Trying to put pressure on, but GB opting to go with 2 main handlers and then moving the disc in the middle and trying to get it through this the narrow spaces, and did that well until
O'Neill understandably immediately launches it deep, looking for Looney. Wedge was wise to it, collects it, gets it back from Jeffrey, and Wedge was just brilliant at getting through those gaps in that cup that you were describing, Christina. Now Denniston trying to work with Jeffrey, but Looney is there to slap it down. O'Brien takes off. Looney launches it. It's too much float, but it's going to sit them in that end zone. And I think a lot of Irish fans will say, yeah, good call.
Yeah, good call.
I feel like GB are quite comfortable against this zone.
They are, and I'm not surprised. The whole team is like pure talent of flowing and going.
Woo to Wedge. Wedge with a leading pass to Kleemer. Sprinting down the near sideline was Ellie Payne. They opt to go through the middle of the zone instead. Woo sends it, leads, collected by Cauldron. Cauldron gets it back into Wedge, back to Cauldron, and they're just so comfortable. So many of them are comfortable playing that 1-2 with each other. Woo goes with the dump back to Jeffrey. And Jeffrey tries to break it through, but again, Ireland able to step through and get the block. This time is Michelle Balance.
Yeah, we praise them seeing those corridors, but they've gotten a bit too happy and hopey with that.
Farnan gets it to O'Neill. And immediately GB pull off, expecting the deep shot. O'Neill trying to find Looney. And the childhood connection not complete this time.
That throw too zippy and very low as well. No, not able to read it at all because it was slicing through.
So here comes GB once more. Kleemer. And even in that sideline space, they're able to find just a little bit of a gap in between the zone. Wedge with an uprush looking for Jeffrey. We've seen them throw it in short spaces as Ireland extend hands in. Denniston to Wedge. Wedge to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, Denniston. The cut coming through from Wedge, and it's just almost like a weave. There's Wedge, gets it in the cup, throws it out of the cup. The experience coming to the fore, floats one down the line from Denniston. Denniston is equal to it. The big jump from O'Neill, but Denniston holsters it, goes for the shot across, and it bounces over. And several players trying to chase after it to collect it, but couldn't do it in time. Do you think Ireland should just play another round of Huck and D?
Yeah, I'm there for it. I love watching their zone defense. Just put it out there. One will eventually.
I would be of the opposite mindset. I think it's just a matter of time before GB crack through this zone. They've come undone in the red zone so far a few times, but they seem to have the basics of breaking it down fairly locked in. Farden and O'Neill. And there's the short field turnover. They should have just tucked it, I think. Jeffrey picks it up quickly. Cauldron and Jeffrey working well together. The quick pops, and there's the score from Wedge eventually. 11-8.
There you go. GB eventually scoring, and they have worked quite a bit, as you already mentioned, with that zone. And there it is a big difference, and for me it makes a big difference whether to lose disc early in around your own end zone or to lose it down the pitch. And I thought not every one of those deep options was gonna maybe be caught, but they were still viable options. And rather than everyone collapsing onto very little space of 10 to maybe 20, 25 meters, it's so much better to open up the field, because that miscommunication in the zone can happen on the one side of the pitch or in the red zone of the attacking end zone of GB. I don't think I don't think necessarily Huck and D in these conditions is a bad idea, especially with a good zone up the wind. People are going to make mistakes, and yeah, Ireland could probably work on being more efficient, but not down on their own end zone line.
It's a fair cop. I didn't really think any of those deep shots were super on. The last one, maybe to an extent, but if you were sending them low, the GB defenders were just so heads up in how they were marking. They knew it was coming, that anything that wasn't really high, they were going to be able to step in and get a block on. And then anything that was coming, and anything that was quite high, just wasn't realistically going to be caught. Barron. Boyd. Hart. Back to Boyd. GB with a zone of their own. Barron. Tries to punch it through. Nice cut by Boyd to attract the attention. They're able to get it to Hart and Doyle on the other side. So now can Ireland respond in kind with the offensive upwind against a zone? Finds Doyle in the middle. Similar role to Wedge almost. Gets the body in the middle of the cup, collects the disc, then tries to throw through it. Hart maybe not thinking about that one too much, but Chambers collects, cleaning it up superbly. Back to Barron. Barron to Doyle. Back to Barron again. Chambers is such an asset in the air for this Irish side. Lulu Boyd uncorks one, launching it deep. It's floating, it's hanging. Is it going to stay in bounds? Lots of people underneath it. But knocked away in the end by Brew.
Good read from Brew, coming in as a help defender and reading the disc well. Picking up as well for the
Do you think GB are going to huck and D it?
Yeah.
There's lots of sit on that one. Well read and really comfortably collected by Dalman. As here come GB looking for the break. Hunter. Barron steps up to put on a mark. Hunter looks for a dump option and eventually is able to get it to the streaking form of Rachel Naden for the score, the break, and the 12-8 lead.
Yeah, I was sure they're going to hook it. With Hannah Brew picking up that disc and just the class of GB, what they've shown us so far. You see that again, beautiful, and it has perfect hang time as well.
Perfect hang time, and the Irish were not ready for that deep shot, which I think you have to expect it to come in that situation. But Barron, I think, was hoping it would be a little bit more on the open side, but instead, so precise.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that is a big difference between Ireland and GB on those deep shots. That the setup is different. The setup of the cut is just far better executed, better by GB. They have one person in space and in stride and moving from the same, about the same position on the field, going deep, whereas Ireland already were in their stack and ready to go, and then from the stack they made a deep cut. And for the defense, they weren't ready on the Irish side, and GB was always there with them.
And is that a matter of experience, preparation?
Preparation, I would think. Maybe also individual experience or connection. It could be so many different things, but we know GB have prepared very well, and they have players that played on and very different high-level teams.
So Hart picks it up, centers immediately to Boyd. Boyd looks for Barron, but Gibson's trying to sneak in there. Great vision by Barron to see that gap to Doyle, and then to uprush and collect it immediately afterwards. That is just textbook central handler play, and then the throw over the top once again to Doyle and collected for the score. Quick by Ireland.
Perfect zone offense, I would say. Just Ireland doing very well on that. I love the over the shot throws and over the top shots, and in these conditions, I know we've seen them do that during that game, but still, at the end of this game, we've played 80 minutes, nearly 80 minutes, being able to still execute those overhead shots. Look at that, scuba over the top into the end zone. Just still making those work. It's great.
Cleona Doyle has been critical. Tipperary woman, currently resides in Dublin, learned to play down in UCC, so really bringing a lot of Irish experience from all over the country to the fore, and essential to a lot of their offensive movement. They've been able to get down field, and for her troubles, picking up 2 goals as well as a block so far in this match. You can see Chambers is obviously one of the primary threats, but Doyle is right there with her. Once they started to double team on the Chambers isolation in their red zone offense, it was Doyle who's the next woman up to take that spot, as the weather really starting to batter down that stereotypical sideways wind. We saw a lot of it in Wimmuck. So hard to know what the next 5 minutes will hold for the players or for the elements here in Limerick at EUC 2023. So Ireland again setting up in a zone. Brew fakes the scoober and instead goes with the backhand. Should have thrown the scoober.
Of course you should. Always a better option.
Hands go out for a violation downfield. 12-8 right now. Ireland had a big break-up win, so we know they're capable of it. Can they do it again? Against defense like that, it's going to be tough. Searing flick, but screaming down to knock that one into the ground. Excellent heads-up play by Karen Kwok. And then Brew wasting no time, launching it all the way deep. Searching in the end zone for Coleman, but finding the railings out the back.
Hit that disc. Caught by the wind.
And that disc, Eurodisc organic discs, the best flight in windy conditions. At that time, perhaps the flight was a little bit too good. Could have done with it coming down a little earlier. Or perhaps you want to play like you're not wearing cleats in these conditions, then you've got to play in Tokay cleats. As you can see, having to clamber over the railings out the back.
I bet that would have been easier with Tokay cleats.
As Leanne O'Neill takes that march to the front of the end zone. Waiting there, Abby Coleman putting on a mark. You can see Hunter, eponymous in the way she sneaks into those open lanes. Nice heads-up play. I thought that was going to be caught, but unfortunately not so much. As now here come GB again. Looking for the hold. Kwok sends it across to Yorworth. And then the quick pop in for the score, collected and dished away by Lucy Hyde.
Hyde making sure to keep her feet in bounds for that score, and GB with another break, was it? Just a hold for GB. Got 13-9 in the current score. And GB really commanding in this game now.
It was 8-4 at half. Those 2 breaks happening either side of the half as well. I mean, GB get that 3-0 run. And then they closed out the half with another break to make it 8-4. Of course, they've been trading in the second half, and Ireland actually got a break themselves to close the gap. Couldn't connect on some of those deep shots and the opportunity. Got the turns on the GB O-line going upwind and had the chance to make it 10-9, but were unable to cash in. In the end, the short field turn allowed GB to get an upwind hold of their own. Perfect response, which they then were able to turn into a downfield break and to extend that lead back out to 4. So it's a close run affair here in the second half, and it continues to be defined by that 3-0 start by GB.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we could say that the difference in this game is the start of it, where GB was firing, was ready to go and in control, and Ireland could not quite keep up with that early, but now they're just with them. No one getting the better of the other team in the end.
As that one rolls out right in front of us, which is where I like it to roll out when it's up to me. Things get a little bit difficult on the left side of the field, looking out the window. Boyd launching deep immediately, trying to find somebody, and it's somehow collected. Phenomenal stuff. Ní Bhínachán with the big-time collection, and that's the hustle plays we're talking about, Christina.
Definitely. That was amazing stuff, and just what the Irish need, a quick, clean hold.
Doesn't get much quicker or cleaner than that. Well, it can get a little cleaner.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I bet there's quite some dirt on that jersey. Clean enough, though, because the rain will wash it right off again.
But Darren Nivuinakon chasing that disc all the way down. I think that was meant for Juventka. But
doesn't matter.
They all count.
Yep.
And that makes it 13-10. So Ireland need another 2 upwind breaks as we come into the final 15 minutes of this matchup. GB with the wind at their backs and in their sails here in the opening round of the women's division at EUC 2023. And if you're enjoying it, well, I've got great news for you. It's just the first day, and you can follow along wild and free all week long on YouTube thanks to ulti.TV and Siege Events.
Also, when you're already here, looking at your YouTube screen, listening to us, enjoying the coverage, click the like button. It just takes you one click. Just please do it. And if you like the coverage, go give us a follow and ring the bell to get notified on all the events coming up this week.
Brew looking to deliver something, and O'Brien steals away into the open lane, and it works out in the end. That throw was a bit rushed, and they get the turn. So now Ireland will have to go all the way upfield, and a difficult connection to make in these conditions. So Brew picks it up once more. Nivuinakon putting on that force, doing everything she can to limit how dangerous Brew is with the disc in hand. Goes to the high release. O'Brien is ready for it, stretching out those cuticles and tipping that to the dirt. O'Neill points, wants the move. Nice little fake and recover by Farnan. That one's plenty of float underneath and lots of bodies. There's going to be a call. So it was a bit of a battle. It seemed like it was Naden and Balance who were having that discussion, but also in the area was Lucy Hyde. We're going to have another look. I mean, all things considered for the conditions, it's a good throw. So it is Naden who got the fatal touch, but was it a touch too much?
It's a GB sandwich for sure.
So I don't know about that. I feel like Naden runs into position and holds it. Or sorry, not Naden. That's Hyde running into position and kind of blocking out Balance, and then Naden's able to sneak around the back and get the block. Coming to you in picture, courtesy of ulti.TV. So that is going to be a contested foul, which means the disc will go back to the thrower, Farnan. This is a pretty impressive flick hook, considering.
I was just going to say, that is some good stuff from that Irish side. I bet by now players have adapted to those conditions. Oh, wait, no, because conditions have changed every 5 minutes since the start of this game.
At times this looked like a perfectly pleasant game to be playing, and other times absolutely monstrous. Great shutdown defense. Farnan's forced to go with the backhand over the top. Doesn't find a green jersey. And now GB with another chance at the offensive hold and to move to match point. Brew. Backhand break, and how effective have those high release backhand breaks been. Hunter throws that one, and it's collected, takes a bobble, but Dalman's able to grab it. You gotta keep your heads up. You gotta be ready for those opportunities. They will come. Dalman extends a leading pass for Hyde. Brave throw in these conditions. Hyde shoots for the front corner and collected by Naden for the score. 14-10.
GB confidently striding down the field with good flow and the safe throws. Coming within one of game point. Obviously, this is now game point. First one of maybe one or two in favor. If you're an Irish fan and if you're a GB fan, you're absolutely stoked for this potential last point. Great pickup from Dom, and catching that disc that was never supposed to be caught, and then Hyde into Naden for the score.
Rachel Naden, so crucial for this GB side and so impressive. Disc in hand or not. That is her 3rd goal. She also picked up an assist. She has been to WUC, the World Ultimate Club Championships, 3 times.
Wow.
She went with Reading, Smog and Bristol. Also wants to make sure she sends a shout out to Leeds, which is, you know, very nice. So traveled around, has certainly plied her trade for many a club, and they have all benefited from her presence, much like the national side right now. Her mum and dad are in Ireland, but her friend Emily might be watching. So if she is, Emily, there's a little shout out for you. As here comes Boyd. Going to Hart. Hart sends that down the line. Dziewiątka gets it to Chambers, and it just seems like if it's within 6 feet of Chambers, it's going to be caught. And there's the offhand backhand to Boyd. Boyd sets up, power position, shot downfield, looking for Doyle. But it was always a bit too close to the sideline.
Yeah, just out the side, maybe 2 meters maximum, 1 to 2 meters, and that's enough, obviously. Without like a hero play of a greatest or something of that sort, which I would love to see, but it's not something that we can expect from any player, really. That disc goes
So
to
again,
side.
GB coming out in this J-stack 1-6 approach. Ireland did a fantastic job of shutting it down last time. The initial clear leading pass down the line, really great throw. That is not an easy situation to get yourself out of. Leong showing off the prowess. There's the center into the middle. And waiting for it is Gibson. Heather Gibson, and an unfortunate drop.
Yeah, that disc
So
must
I'm
be
still
so
in 2
slippery.
minds about that 6-1 stack.
I love it. The Italians also play it. Seen it out of Bologna.
So Barron down the line to Chambers. Gets low and scoops that one off the ground. Or close to. Barron and Doyle was waiting for it in the middle, but so was Abby Coleman.
Slapping that disc to the ground.
Smash mouth ultimate. So once again, Maddie Leong and the 1-6 stack.
What I like about it is that you can attack every side from the middle.
What I don't like about it is how it isolates the handler and opens you up for some pinch poaching. Chambers, there's a few bodies in and around. There's going to be a call, I think somewhat understandably. Foul call by Chambers. And an injury called by Emma Kleemer. Kleemer's been quite impressive for GB. Real effective cog, showing up when you need her, taking care of business, has a goal to her name as well. And showing the depth of talent that exists on this GB women's team.
Yeah, it's been impressive, and I think I pointed her out in the beginning of someone to watch, and I do believe, if I might say so, I was right with that, because she was really everywhere whenever she was needed. Same here.
It's such a valuable and at times intangible skill, just being where you're needed when you're needed there, and Kleemer's been a fantastic example of that in this game.
Prove me wrong, but on a team like this, where you have your stars and people with a lot of experience and the big name to themselves, people that just do what they know they can do are the most important things to most important parts to complete a team like GB.
Hart to Chambers to Boyd, and Boyd throws it all the way back down. Has a few options and finds Nivunikon for the goal.
Score for Ireland. Well done. Definitely took the option they have gotten from the GB defense, going towards the other side and around after that longer break. It's sometimes hard to get back into the game and play your offense as if nothing happened, because I think like stoppages on that field can sometimes not feel so great when we were on the pitch just waiting to continue, but they did a very good job at that, and they are calling a timeout now as well.
They certainly have the time to do so, and that time is now. Whatever we've said about these pool games being largely a reseeding, as an experience, it is something you can carry forward throughout the tournament. So Ireland call the timeout and get ready to try and get their second upwind break of the game, as the score is GB 14, Ireland 11. Welcome back. Ireland with a big chant as they try to raise their spirits and raise their score in a game that has been very close at times, Christina.
It really has. I know the scoreline is different. It doesn't look close. If you'll tell them, if that game would end now and it'll be 15-11 game to GB, everyone would be like, fair enough. But it was a 3-point lead in the beginning that GB just went off to a better start, and from that point onwards, Ireland played with them. So I would want every team that played GB and Ireland to really fear this week, because both of these teams have put in their all into the game and have showed that they can adapt to conditions and play in every condition that this weather goddess would throw at them, or at us, really.
I do think the crucial difference being the fact Ireland couldn't cash in on their upwind break with a downwind break. And that was the real critical difference, because then GB got that upwind and then we're right back to business, got their downwind break, and we were back to trading. So it's been even so far in this second half. 8-4 coming into it, 14-11 now, with GB receiving the disc, going downwind on offense. You'd have to expect them to be able to knock it in. They've done it before, but Ireland have one break. Have the potential to get another. As here comes the pull. Just shy of halfway again. So Ireland touches it down. And Yorworth picking it up. Brew to her left. Sending it to Brew. Overshooting Brew with the throw, and an immediate turn for Ireland. So the timeout, they've gathered themselves. Let's see what kind of offense they can put together. A blade over the top, and it just goes past both the receiver and, if I'm honest, Hunter, who's probably in a better position. So if it had been as accurate as intended, I think Hunter would have got that block. This time Brew's going to pick it up straight away. The 3-4 setup. Kwok moving with the under, looking for that break throw. Doesn't come. Great shutdown defense on the dumps initially. Eventually able to get it to Hyde. Hyde sends it down the line to Hunter. Hunter goes for a break themselves, gets it just about to Kwok. Kwok's able to toe the line and hold it in, shoots for the end zone, and it's a fantastic grab to close out the game, and an understandable spike.
Yeah, Rachel Naden with that grab in the end zone to finish the game off in favor for GB. 15 points, Ireland 11. And that was just perfect on the second time of asking. GB closed the game out, and it took their all, as we mentioned time and time again. That score wasn't easy. A late reset and then into Naden for the score. But GB with the coming out on top in this first game of EUC.
I don't think anybody would be too surprised by that scoreline, but might be a little bit surprised by how well Ireland played, or the pressure they were able to put on this GB side. And it's something we've spoken about a lot with these conditions. There's going to be lots of opportunities for turnovers, lots of opportunities for you to then take advantage of them, and it can all turn oh so quickly. The rousing spirit and rousing fight that we saw from Ireland after they got that break in the second half. They all screamed onto the pitch. It seemed like they're in the ascendancy. This could be a great moment for them to take their control back in this matchup. But in the end, GB's experience, their trust, their disc skills, working against that Irish zone, they continually found the gaps through the middle and were able to pretty consistently work it all the way up to the end zone before turning it over. Really put the pressure on, really made the difference. And I think depth is what saw GB through in this match. As we are going to speak with the orchestrator, the conductor of that GB offense so many times throughout the game, Hannah Louise Whitehead Brew. Hannah Louise Brew.
Where am I looking? Who am I talking to?
So, Hannah, thank you so much for joining us. Something we were talking about in the booth is it seemed like the difference there was your depth. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you as GB have approached working together as a team in this national cycle?
Yeah, exactly that. We are very focused on every single individual player on the team having a role and having a crucial role in the team. We were not the sort of team that came into it thinking, oh, we've got a top end and we'll really focus on them and try and play through them. That's the total opposite of how we've approached anything as a team. So then when we turn up somewhere like this and we have unfavourable conditions for lots of teams, we're really happy and confident that we can play through absolutely everyone and anyone at any given point.
And how do you continue to espouse that through your own play? Because just through your natural ability, innately you're going to be a leader on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are people that will be involved in more stuff at more times. But the communication always is to the team is that each person will have a moment that they are the best person for. So sometimes it will be our O-line going downwind, sometimes it will be our D-line going upwind, sometimes it will be someone who's just got really good backhand breaks into the wind, and it will change and fluctuate throughout the week, and everyone accepts that and knows that.
And speaking of backhand breaks, is the high release backhand break something you came in to this as a team planning to tear Ireland apart with?
Not specifically, but we have focused a lot on throwing. That's been our main mantra as a team, is that you're only as strong as your less comfortable thrower. So that was the thing that we really focused on being comfortable in all types of throws. There is no such thing as a bad throw. There's just an unpracticed throw.
Oh, I very much enjoy that. So can we expect any thumbers in the future?
100%.
Excellent.
Is it okay if I go and join the huddle now?
Thank you so much for joining
That's all right.
us, and best of luck as we carry on throughout the week.
Thank you.
We might have you back in the booth or one of your teammates.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks very much. Cheers.
So that was Hannah Louise Brew joining us in the booth to close out what was a fantastic game and close out our first day here in Limerick at EUC 2023. No luck right now for the hometown teams on stream, but it's going to be an awfully long week as we have just a quick look at those stats. You can see 4 breaks, 2-1, but so close in turns. Ireland actually had more clean holds and the teams had the same number of break chances, which just goes to show you how closely fought this game is and how determinative it is to take advantage of those upwinds when you get them. If you are able to do the incredibly difficult task of scoring going into the wind, you have to cash it in going in the other way. And at the end of the day, that was the difference between these two sides. But there's plenty more to see, so much more action to come, and only one place to see it, and that is free on YouTube with ulti.TV here from the Treaty City, Limerick at EUC 2023.
Thanks.
Yeah, ultimate.
ulti.TV.